Wrong.
Marker?
Okay, here we go. And so Bob, and we're on action, and we're telling that story, the Lopez story.
Originally, we were going to call them Lucy and Larry Lopez, but at that time, there was a very famous band leader named Vincent Lopez. We thought that might be confusing, so we changed it to Lucy and Ricky Ricardo.
Lucy was great to work with.
Oh, yeah, she'd do anything.
Absolutely. She never said no. She never said, I want to look pretty. She never said, I don't want to do that because it's dangerous. We did everything to her. We
Froze her.
We starched her. We poured clay over her. We dumped her in the water. We flew her on wires.
And we finally lit her nose on fire, which I thought was going a little too far, but she didn't mind.
And then we'd say, well, do you mind working with animals? So she loved it. And so through the years, she worked with an elephant, a burro, horse,
All kinds of birds.
pigeons,
Dogs, cats.
penguins, and a dog.
Yeah.
And one time we had her holding a sheep in her lap, and she sang it a lullaby.
And we cut. Good. That was great.
Marker?
Okay, guys, this will start with Desi's contribution, so if anyone is responsible,
Yeah,
we'll start
okay.
with that, right? And here we go on action, and action.
If anyone was responsible for I Love Lucy, it was Desi Arnaz. He was such a great showman, and he had such enthusiasm for whatever
I
we
think
wanted
people
to do.
underestimated his contribution to the show.
We've
He had a-
always said that.
he had a great comedy sense.
Well, we would, go down the hall, and whatever Jess and Bob and I had written, we'd say, well, can we do this? Because they were sometimes very involved, things like catching up with the train and riding horses. And he'd say, let me call the special effects, let me see what the guys come up with. And he loved what we wrote, and nothing was impossible, which made it terrific.
He never said it was too much money.
All right, we're going to cut right there. That's good. Speed.
Marker?
Okay, Bob, we'll start with you, right? And we'll do the three camera stuff. And action.
It was a great combination. We had Lucy, who would do anything, and then we had Desi, who would agree to anything. Nothing was ever too expensive for him or too much trouble.
And actually, Desi created the three-camera technique for Lucy, and then we did this show. It was with 3 film cameras in front of an audience continuously. And that technique is still used today in a lot of sitcoms. And I suppose because it was on film, you could also say that Desi invented the rerun.
Yeah.
And we cut.
Marker?
So, Matt, we know where we are. Keep our instructions. All right? Here we go. And action.
No. Desi had tremendous charm, and he could talk you into anything. We used to call him the Cuban arm because he would come up and put his arm around you and call you amigo, and you just say yes to anything. One time we were going to have lunch with him, and we wanted a vacation, and so the two of us said, now, whatever happens, don't agree to write anything. Okay, so we go into lunch, and 2 hours later we came out, and we had promised to write 2 pilots and do a rewrite on a movie.
Another time, we were getting kind of tired. We needed a rest. So I said, let's go in and quit. Came back out later. We signed for 3 more years.
And we cut. That's great.
David.
Marker?
All right, here we go. And action.
Desi had tremendous charm. He could talk you into anything. We used to call him the Cuban arm. He'd put his arm around you and call you amigo, and the next thing you know, you were saying yes to whatever.
Remember that lunch, that certain lunch we went to?
We were going to have lunch with him, and we wanted a vacation. We were very tired, and we said, now, whatever we do, we're not going to say yes to anything. Okay, and we agreed, and we went in, and 2 hours later, we came out, and we had promised to do a rewrite on a movie and 2 pilots.
Another time, we got very tired and wanted a rest, so we said, let's go in and quit. Came out an hour later, we signed for 3 more years. Yeah, a lot of charm.
And we cut. That's great. That's
David.
great.
Marker?
And action.
We actually didn't have a lot of faith in the show. At the same time we'd done the Lucy pilot, we'd written another pilot, remember?
For Hanley Stafford.
Yeah, Hanley Stafford. I'm glad you asked that. No, Hanley Stafford played the father on Baby Snooks, which Fanny Bryce was the star. So we thought, oh, God, I hope the Hanley Stafford show sells. That's how little we knew about showbiz.
That's great. Okay, we'll cut.
Marker?
Okay, starting to be Bob, and action.
We didn't have a lot of faith in the show. At the same time we'd written the Lucy pilot, we'd also written a pilot for Hanley Stafford. He played the father on Baby Snooks, which was played by Fanny Bryce. So we thought, oh, we hope the Hanley Stafford show sells, but it didn't, and that's how much we know about showbiz.
Cut. Good.
Marker?
All right, here we go, and action.
After we filmed the Lucy pilot, Bob and I went to Europe, and we had a wonderful time and traveled all around. I'd never been there before, and when we got to Nice, there was a cable waiting for us, and they said, Lucy's show sold. And for about 5 hot seconds, we considered pretending we didn't get the cable because we wanted to stay on the trip. But we were both broke, and we decided we better go home and do the series.
And we cut. Good. Thank you.
Marker?
Okay, starting to be Bob, and it's overlapping into that.
What was it about?
Action. Go.
What was this? Oh, yeah. We weren't too sure this show was ever going to work, because at the same time we'd done the Lucy pilot, we'd written one for Hanley Stafford.
Of the Baby Snook show.
Yeah, he was the father on Baby Snooks. We thought, well, that's a much better show. They'd probably win, but it didn't, and that shows how much we know about showbiz.
And after the Lucy pilot was filmed, we went to Europe, and we were traveling all around, having a wonderful time. And we got to Nice, and there was a cable, remember?
Yeah,
They said,
yeah.
Lucy's show sold. And I remember for about 5 hot seconds, we were going to pretend we didn't get the cable.
But we were running out of money at that point, so we thought we'd better go home and do it. And we did.
It was a good decision, I think.
Great move.
And we cut. Good.
Let me tell you about Hanley Stafford. Who?
Marker?
Starting with Bob, and action.
Well, a good writer never throws anything away, and we didn't throw that away. We used it later for a Lucy episode, which I think we called The Audition.
And we cut. Good. That's good.
David.
Now,
Hey, wait.
Marker?
Did you hear the one about my nostril?
they're all action.
We never threw anything away. We worked that pilot into a Lucy episode later, which we called The Audition.
Cut. Good.
In my school. Poor dear. She went to a concert last night.
Marker?
Chamber.
We always planned to have neighbors on the show. In those days, all the shows had neighbors. The people had to have somebody to talk to. But in the pilot, there just wasn't room. There was too much else. And besides, we hadn't cast them yet.
And we cut. That's great. Good.
Yeah.
Mark.
Can we start?
Yeah. Wait, please.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. And guys, looking to camera. So how did Lucy and Desi approach you to write the pilot?
Well, Lucy asked us to write the pilot that they were going to do for television, and we had been writing her radio show, and she said we wrote very visually anyway, and she wanted us to do that.
In those days, people did radio shows like they were doing a stage show in full wardrobe and
With an
costume and
audience.
lights. Yeah. So she was getting laughs.
With all this visual stuff, so she wanted us to do television, of course, with Desi, and whom we really didn't know, so we were writing a script for Desi, and the Mertzes, who we'd never met, and we didn't know where the sets were. So we
Yeah,
wrote
the show was so we wrote 8 scripts and didn't know if there was a door there. We said, whoever it is comes in that door if there's a door there. If there's a door there, I don't know how they get in. We don't care how they get in. But they got in, apparently.
What were the popular shows of the time? What was there a hit sitcom that you emulated or that was around at the time? What was the most popular sitcom before I Love Lucy?
Well, your show of shows, what?
What sitcom, though?
What sitcoms were on before Lucy?
That's not a good question, David.
I think it was the first
There
one.
weren't any. We broke ground there, David.
I think it was
Pioneers.
the first one.
Get out there.
Burns and Allen.
Burns and Allen. Yeah, Burns and Allen, because Bea Benaderet, who did the radio show, couldn't do the Lucy show because she was on Burns and Allen.
She was the neighbor on Burns and Allen,
And Gail Gordon was on Miss Brooks, and he had done the radio show,
Yeah.
so we lost them, but we got 2 great replacements, of course.
And what was Jess Oppenheimer's contribution to the pilot?
well,
Well,
Jess,
we had worked with him on the radio show, too. He was our producer.
Guys, just remember to just
sorry.
start with my question. So Jess Oppenheimer.
Well, you hit me one more time.
So what was Jess Oppenheimer's
The
contribution?
team is breaking up today. It's all over. I'd like a,
Okay.
Jane, would you like to work?
Well, Jess Oppenheimer,
Jess Oppenheimer, yeah.
Here we go.
You're doing this, aren't you?
Okay.
Jess Oppenheimer.
Jess Oppenheimer worked with us on the Lucy pilot, and we had worked with him on radio, and Lucy's radio show, My Favorite Husband, so we just sort of segued over into the TV pilot. And
He also worked on the Baby Snooks show, if anybody remembers what I said a while ago.
actually, I think Jess taught Bob and me how to
Yeah.
plot. We knew how to write little funny lines, but we didn't really know what a story was. And he said he'd look at our script and say, I don't think you have much story there. So when we first worked with him, well, we learned a lot.
And CBS wanted her to come into TV with the radio show, but she said, no, I won't do it with my husband or forget it. And we're glad she made that decision, because he gave us a lot of good stories.
Tell me about working with Desi. I mean, was business on his mind during the show a lot?
Well, working with Desi was an experience.
Yeah.
He was always up doing business, and when he wasn't in the show. And one day he came back from lunch and said to Lucy, "I just bought RKO." He was always doing.
We weren't
this.
too surprised at that.
But he was very quick. Sometimes we would check the storyline with him always, and he would come out of the scene he was rehearsing, and I would wait for him, and I'd say, "We got an idea," and as fast as I could talk, I would add up the storyline, and he would say, and then he would say, "I think in scene 4, it's a little thin," and he would be right, and we'd go fix it, and then we'd start to write. There wasn't a lot of time in those days to
No.
rewrite and check with everybody. We were doing too many shows. We started out doing 39 shows a year, so there wasn't a lot of time to
We were actually quite amazing, Madeline, when you look back. Occasionally on a Monday morning, Lucy would pick up the script for the first time, and it'd be a scene. She says, "I don't know if this is going to work or not." And he would say, "Honey, Marlon and Robert wrote it. They've never let you down before. Go ahead." So by Wednesday, she would like the material, and it would be funny.
But we tried
he knew
out
what
all,
was funny.
Yeah, we tried out all the stunts because we didn't want to get down on the set and find out it didn't work and have to waste time. So because I was a woman, they were always rolling me up in rugs or putting me underneath the
Or
bed or
put
something.
3 dozen eggs down Madeline's blouse.
And then we would see if it worked. So we would write into the script, "We tried this and it worked." So Desi would say, "They said they tried it." And Lucy later said, she said to Viv, "They tried it. I guess we've got to do it." And we had tried it, and it did work. And but she would always add so much to it, things you didn't expect, of course, that were just
Remember the
marvelous.
cow, the day we had a cow on the set?
We had her milk a cow for the Europe show, and so we went down on the set, and it was a terrible looking cow. It was very dirty and old, and she looked at me.
We
and
hadn't seen many cows either. Well, you had. You're from Indiana.
Lucy looked at me and she said, "You wrote it, you milk it." But I didn't.
What about Desi as a performer? Was he underrated as a performer, do you think?
I think Desi was underrated as a performer. He was very charismatic, and he was a marvelous straight man. If you see the old shows, because we took all that for granted in those days, but he was a great foil for her. He was perfect, and someone for her to play against. We wrote all those shows and didn't know that he could do this. We wrote 8 shows, and we said, "Gee, we hope he's funny," and we were very lucky because being Cuban and all gave us a lot of stories and things to use.
I'd never heard Babalu until he came on the set. Had you? Back in Indiana?
Yes, they had Babalu in Indiana. I knew it that way.
Sure.
Why weren't Fred and Ethel in the pilot?
There wasn't really room for Fred and Ethel in the pilot, and they hadn't been cast. We knew eventually we were going to have neighbors.
So we did more music with Desi. It was sort of Desi's show, and Lucy sort of came in and did some comedy relief. Thank goodness.
And who cast Vivian Vance?
Mark Daniels, didn't he play?
Actually, our director,
Yeah.
Mark Daniels, had worked with Vivian on the
On
stage
Broadway, yeah.
in New York. And she was appearing in the La Jolla Playhouse in Voice of the Turtle. She was playing the wisecracking friend. And so he took everybody down to see her, and of course, they loved her.
She was great. Occasionally we watch the show once in a while, and you look over at her, even when she isn't doing something. Lucy is, you watch Vivian, and you see, my God, that woman's got 3 dozen eggs in
Reacting,
her blouse. And her
reacting.
face would tell you that. She was great.
She was
Was it a
terrific.
difficult show to time because sometimes the laughs would go longer than you expected?
Speaking of the eggs in the blouse, that was the longest laugh ever recorded, I think. Not when Madeline did it, when Lucy did it.
No, I wasn't that funny.
It went like 45 seconds, I think, which is pretty long when you think of a laugh going that long. It was great.
Well, she had the eggs and smashed them, and then she did that thing that she milked it for what people would say, I know how it would feel, and she was wonderful.
And how did William Frawley get the role? What was he doing at the time?
Didn't he call and say, I want to do it?
That's what I was
Yeah.
told, that he called up and he said, I'd like to do your show. I think he'd worked with Lucy in movies.
And they were considering
Jimmy Gleason.
Jimmy Gleason, and Jimmy Gleason turned it down, and Frawley heard about it.
Guys, you start over again with William Frawley's name in the answer, so my question was, how did William Frawley get the role? So just,
How did William Frawley get that role?
Bill Frawley got the role because he called up. Wasn't that what we heard?
Another actor, Jimmy Gleason, had turned it down, and he probably knew Frawley. And Frawley said, hey, if you don't want it, I'll go and do it.
So he called them, and they said, wonderful.
what was your impression after seeing the pilot after 40 years? What was the surprise? What was the feeling about it? Start with the question.
Well, when we saw that pilot, Ken,
We hadn't seen the pilot for almost 40 years.
we had a little trouble naming the show. We were going to call it the Lucy and Larry Lopez Show, but at that time there was a famous band leader named Vincent Lopez, and we thought that might be a little confusing for the audience. So we made it the Ricardos.
Cut. Good.